You ready for some heads to explode? I have the man who is top of class in political commentary, Bill Maher. How is the old school liberal who says the Democratic Party left him in its woke wake more relevant than ever? And is it true? Is he about to meet the man he criticizes most of all? Bill Maher headed to the White House? For reals? Let's get after it.
In today's video, we delve into the analysis two explosive conversations featuring Bill Maher and Gavin Newsom. And trust me, they don't hold back. In a political landscape drowning in echo chambers, cancel culture, and partisan nonsense, these two are doing something most people in power want: telling uncomfortable truths and talking to the other side. Bill Maher calls out the hypocrisy on both the left and the right, while Gavin Newsom dares to speak with figures like Steve Bannon and Charlie Kirk, sparking outrage from his own party. Why? Because they both know the current Democratic brand is in crisis, and fake unity isn't going to save it. This breakdown dives into their boldest takes, from the woke train to crazy town to the rot of overregulation in California, and the real danger of plastic poisoning our bodies while politicians bicker. If you're tired of political theater and want to hear what's really going on behind the curtain, this is for you. Let's get into the real talk.
John Fetterman was in the news today. He said, we're talking about the Democratic Party, he said, if we don't get our shit together, we're going to be a permanent minority. Doing something about it. I applaud it. I think it's great. You've got this podcast. You're talking to people. You know, it's amazing to me that even that is controversial to some people. They call it platforming. If you talk to someone you don't agree with.
Yeah.
I feel like this country is divided into owners and healers. People think you can own the other side. Yeah, well, Gavin Newsom owned DeSantis. Yeah. DeSantis destroyed Gavin Newsom. Yeah. Or people who want to talk and heal. And I feel like the next president's going to be, at least if it comes from this party, the Democratic Party, someone who wants to talk and heal. And I feel like we're doing that.
It's really been interesting, the reaction to the podcast. I mean, we had some controversial figures on, I'll acknowledge that, and Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and some others. But you're right. I mean, this idea that we can't even have a conversation with the other side.
You have to. They won.
Thank you. That's it. Bottom line. And by the way, or the notion we just have to continue to talk to ourselves, or we're in the same damn echo chamber. These guys are crushing us. The Democratic brand is toxic right now. We had a high water mark 2 weeks ago, and that was a CNN poll at 29% favorability. It's dropped in the NBC poll down to 27%. It's one thing to make noise, but you also have to make sense. And I think with this podcast and having the opportunity to dialogue with people I disagree with, it's an opportunity to try to find common ground and not take cheap shots. I'm not looking to put a spoke in the wheel of their, or at least a crowbar in the spokes of their wheel to trip them up, to your point. And I think it's important. Democrats, we tend to be a little more judgmental than we should be. This notion of cancel culture, you've been living it. You've been on the receiving end of it for years and years and years. That's real. And Democrats need to own up to that. They've got to mature about this.
The Democratic Party is spiraling, and it's not because of what the Republicans are doing. It's because of what the Democrats refuse to do. Bill Maher and Gavin Newsom are two of the few voices on the left with enough spine to admit that the house is on fire, and the leadership is still arguing about who gets to hold the hose. With public trust plummeting and favorability ratings dipping into the 20s, Maher calls it what it is. The brand is toxic. Not misunderstood. Not unfairly criticized. Toxic. And Newsom, instead of hiding behind party, loyalty or progressive platitudes, is breaking ranks by talking to people the far left would rather cancel than confront. People like Steve Bannon and Charlie Kirk. That alone has triggered the woke mob, who now scream platforming every time someone dares to have a conversation outside the progressive bubble. But here's the raw truth. If your movement collapses the moment it's challenged, it was never strong to begin with. Maher and Newsom are done playing that game. They're not interested in performative outrage or hollow Twitter activism. They're talking about saving democracy, not by yelling louder, but by actually engaging with the people you disagree with. They're calling out the cancer of cancel culture, the obsession with ideological purity, and the smug self-righteousness that's turning the left into a gated community of fragile egos and litmus tests. Newsom flat out admits it. Democrats have become too judgmental, too isolated, too out of touch. And unless they start growing up, stepping up, and shutting up long enough to actually listen to dissenting voices, they're going to lose, and they're going to deserve it. This isn't about coddling conservatives or pretending the other side doesn't have its own problems. It's about breaking out of the echo chamber before it becomes a tomb. Maher and Newsom are waving the warning flags, not for clout, but because they understand what's at stake, the survival of their party and the future of the country.
But don't you think that they should be obsessed with how to do things differently? And you don't even hear them talking about it.
Well, you certainly hear Newsom talking about it. He said, he's just started this podcast. I'm sure you heard that. He said he was modeling it on what I do on Real Time. He said, I want to talk to other people. His first guest was Charlie Kirk, who could be not more be on the other side. I like this. I like the new Newsom. I've been asking for this Newsom for a long time. So I think he's a great candidate if he was more of a centrist Democrat, and he seems like he wants to be. So I think it's great, and I can't wait till Friday and talk to him.
I can't wait to see what he says about what he's got working to make that not happen again when the fires come again.
Well, the whole thing is about this state is just so fucked with over taxes and over regulation.
Sure.
I mean, I last time he was on, I was, kidding him about the fact that I took 3 years to get my solar power turned on. Now I just had my roof redone because of the fires, because now I want a fireproof roof. 2 inspections, and you have to pay for those inspections, They're not free. And I asked this on the show last week. I see it got picked up by a lot of people. Why do I have to have inspectors looking at my roof? It's my roof. If it falls on my head, that's my problem. I don't need the government looking over my shoulder here. And this is why we can't get anything done in this state. The government is just too in our fucking business. And he was on last January, and I asked him about this and the red tape, and he had a big answer about, well, we're blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm going to find out what the exact blah, 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 blah was and see now that it's a year and 3 months later, what's been done. Because if it's nothing, that's not good enough.
It's hard for people in power to not use the power.
California is a mess, and Bill Maher isn't sugarcoating it. He tears into the state's bloated bureaucracy and sky-high taxes, calling out the kind of red tape that makes even basic things, like getting solar panels or a fireproof roof, drag out for years. That's right, years. You shouldn't hear you say it. And this is in a state that claims to be leading the climate fight. Maher's point is simple. California keeps getting torched by wildfires, but the leadership refuses to have the hard conversations about why, like how toxic the burn sites really are, or why rebuilding is taking forever. Instead of action, all we get is regulation on top of regulation, inspections you have to pay for, and a government that's more obsessed with micromanaging rooftops than cleaning up the mess. He's not just venting. He's exposing a deep failure of leadership in a state that talks big but delivers small. And if California is supposed to be the model for the rest of the country, we should all be worried.
Let me ask you this, last question. You're going to meet with the president.
I am?
So Kid Rock makes it happen. What do you think has been the response so far? What do you think it will be, and why are you doing it? Which I'm totally for, by the way, and I love it.
I get it. Well, I'm doing it because, first of all, it was presented as
a dare.
not a dare. No, just like, maybe this is a beginning to heal America. No, I don't have some sort of complex where I think I can heal America. I can't. Okay, let's get that clear. I'm not going to be healing America. But if 2 guys who've been at each other for so long, I mean, it's kind of a Nixon to China thing. I have the credentials. There was nobody who was harder on Trump or more prescient about the fact that he wasn't going to leave office voluntarily than I was. I feel like I have the credentials. But they also respect me because I'm honest about the woke train to crazy town. And I don't shrink from that. And I've also lost a lot of fans for that. The woke people have left the building, and I'm willing to make that sacrifice. But it does give you a certain credibility. So I just think to meet somebody, first of all, it's an honor to be invited to the White House.
Yes, it is.
And I've already had a couple of people who I said to them, you know, I'm just going to take it as a backhanded compliment that you glide right past the idea that little Bill Maher from Rivervale, New Jersey, just a humble kid from the suburbs, was invited for a private dinner to the White House. You glide right past that to how dare you talk to him, and that you're not impressed by it at all. I'm impressed by it a lot. I'm impressed the fuck out of it. I get to go to the White House, and yes, that is the structure of this dinner, is just let's talk. Let's talk to each other face to face. Let's not stop shouting from 3,000 miles away.
Yep, you heard that right. Bill Maher is going to dinner at the White House. And no, he's not selling out. He's not putting on a MAGA hat or suddenly turning into a Trump fanboy. This isn't about endorsement. It's about principle. Maher made it crystal clear. He's been one of Trump's harshest critics for years, warning everyone from day one that the guy wouldn't leave office peacefully. But he also knows that yelling across social media isn't doing a damn thing to fix the divide in this country. So when the invite came, apparently through Kid Rock of all people, Maher said yes. Why? Well, because sitting down and having an honest, face-to-face conversation is a hell of a lot more powerful than screaming from opposite corners. It's a symbolic move, sure, but it's also a challenge. If someone like Maher, who's been brutally honest about Trump's flaws, can still show up and talk like a grown-up, then what's everyone else's excuse? Thanks for watching. Seriously, if you made it this far, you're the real one. If you're tired of the noise and want more unapologetic, honest breakdowns like this, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and drop a comment below. Let's keep the conversation real, and keep calling out the BS no matter where it's coming from. I'll see you in the next one.